And we can start. Please, first of all, tell us about you a little bit. So the microphone is all yours.
All right. Thank you. And thank you, 80 Level, for inviting me. How's it going, everybody? A lot of you, if you know my brand name, is MR3Dev. Very few people know me by my actual name, Manuel Rondon. That's actually the MR from the MR3Dev. And I've been a character artist for around 4 years. I've been a 3D artist for a little bit above 10 years. The reason being, I was a character artist, then I switched to environment, and then I got out of the industry and only do like freelance stuff for games. And my main job, it's still like virtual production and 3D art for industrial design. Been around. I've done several characters for indie design, and I worked with some studios when I was doing virtual production. I even did a video for Jennifer Lopez. We used a lot of virtual production and On My Way for that video. And I've done a lot of stuff for commercials. So yeah, I've been around, and I have a YouTube channel where I break down the characters from AAA video games, so other artists that are trying to get into the industry know what the industry expects from them. We are here, and I guess let's start. So we have the three people who won the review. I see some fantastic stuff. Let's start with Anant. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Anant's a character artist, and we have this image right here. It's called Avara, the one marked by bones. I do see a little bit of a theme on this contest. A couple they look very like fantasy style. So let's go into the character itself. I think the presentation is pretty good. I do have some pointers that I have here on my notes for things that I've seen. All around, this character's fantastic, very well designed, very good distribution of the dirt along. Although one thing that I would do is not have so much dirt on her. I know it's just supposed to portray this type of character, but have maybe a little bit more variations, maybe some scars on her. But I do like how detailed everything looks over here on her belt and all the metallic bits that are on her. If we keep scrolling, this is fantastic work. This is what I would like to see if I was hiring somebody. And yeah, this is the usual beauty shot. The only thing that I would do with this picture, though, is I wouldn't put like behind. I know what you were trying to do and just keep the ratio of the picture by putting things one behind the other. But I think it's a little bit better that people just look at the full picture of the characters, because this is the usual showing the diffuse, normal map, roughness, metallic, and all that. And yeah, I think everybody would like to look at your full work. Another thing that I love is how you're breaking down the UVs here. Very good UVing. I would have packed this one a little bit more, but overall I think the packing pretty good. It depends on what your target platform would be. I didn't see that in your description, but overall I'd say I'm very, very impressed with that in your presentation and everything that you have for this character in particular. So let's take a look at the rest of your portfolio, and have character right here. Pretty fun, and I like there's some variation in your portfolio where you have a realistic and a toony character. I would have liked to see more of a breakdown of this, but this is a cool character too. I like the presentation of this, and from the concept to the final, it looks pretty nice. This breakdown of the, I'm guessing, the high poly diffuse, all the materials and everything. These are illustrations, if I'm not mistaken. Like, I don't see any. I honestly don't know what this is. If this is illustrated or photo bashed, that could be an issue if a company is looking at your portfolio. So these two are very nice pieces, and this one has a pretty good skin shader. Hair is fantastic. However, the placement of the mouth, this was probably one of your earlier works there to guess, because the anatomy of your the piece that won is much different than this one. The anatomy of piece that we saw before was on point, and the anatomy of the mouse in this one and the cheekbones, I don't think it's correct. Yeah, it looks a little bit flat, like it's somebody squished him. But yeah, this is my recommendation. If you're trying to look for work as a character art, I would leave these two pieces because they look fantastic. This one really catches your eye. I'm not sure what these are, so a hiring manager or a director might be confused into what are you trying to do. regarding these they look great. I just don't know. I think there are illustrations, which if you're trying to be a 3D character artist, is something different. I know a lot of people say that you should keep to one thing if you want to specialize. I think otherwise. I think your portfolio can be varied, because my portfolio is varied. I have character art, I have environment art, I've done all sorts of things, and having different things in my portfolio is what has permitted me to always have a job. So I think that's a good thing. However, when you do two different sides from 3D to 2D, it might be, I don't know, it might confuse the person hiring. It's like, well, this guy maybe wants to do more illustration than doing 3D art. Overall, those are my impressions. And I don't know if we have any questions up until this point. We'll leave all of those to the end. Now, moving on to the second one. This one's called Emanuele Bestie Art. This piece, I really like this piece overall. Pretty good. And like I said, there was a theme kind of like Viking-ish, because the previous piece that we saw had like those Norse runes, if I'm not mistaken. Also look very Viking-ish, although I think it's lone Vikings. I like that this is an asymmetric character. Those are usually more difficult to do than if she was the same all around. I really like the difference between all of the armor pieces, of the shoulder pieces. And let's move to a part that is not rotating. We can see the whole image. Well, I guess, yeah. I guess that would be my first recommendation, was to have something that is not spinning. Because yes, it's cool that you're showcasing your piece all around, but I would rather you have some stills. Whoever's looking at your portfolio, yeah, this is a beauty shot, but whoever's looking at your portfolio may want to look at her completely from head to toe without. But this is not something that's going to take points off, but it's like from the hiring point of view. If you have a couple of stills at the beginning and then you have all the video stuff from the bottom. Overall, this character is very, very highly detailed, very high poly from the looks of it. I know nowadays for like current generation consoles, we're going super high poly, and even from the dissectors that I've done on AAA video games, they're doing like over 140,000 polygons for like hero characters, and I think this one would be around that. The only little bit that I would recommend is whenever you're doing a character that has something like this, I see there's a little bit of a lack of detail in this part. Probably I'd like to see more scarring on her, because she's a Viking. This looks like if it was done today at a surgeon's office, a Viking would have a lot more scarring all around that. That would be my only recommendation, because everything has so much detail and everything is so, it just have a lot of detail. And this is the part where I think it gets my eye towards this, where there is a little bit of lacking of that scarring. Maybe the scar is there with normal maps, but it's not so apparent. So that is the only thing that I would suggest about this character. Other than that, character looks pretty awesome. If we keep going, the hair is awesome. This is something that it's not my favorite part to do hair. Usually, if you know my work, I like to do more stylized stuff, so I usually don't deal with this kind of hair. This is fantastic doing the braids. It's usually very difficult. So I love the placement of the hair cards. Very nice all around. Here are the weapons. This is a nice breakdown of the weapons, just showing the light around it so you can see the roughness and the specularity of these weapons. This is a pretty nice showcase. Here is high poly, and we can see it without the head. This would be a suggestion that I would give, is if you're going to do wireframe, don't do a wireframe that is so dense where you cannot see anything, because like I would have taken off the head like you did here. You're gonna showcase the wireframe and the head was too dense. I would have done the head in two parts. So do another part, another picture of the head. I don't see it. Do another picture of the head separately, because at this distance it just looks like there's nothing here that I can see. So I know there's a detail there, like because of this little bits here, the white bits here. But yeah, the resolution, this is a very, very high resolution character. Like even if I was doing a cloth physics for this, maybe a little bit on the higher side. But if I was hiring, I wouldn't discount any points for that. This is the only thing that would throw me off, is if I would like to see the wireframe on the face, there's just nothing I can see here, unfortunately. So maybe This can be easily corrected. Just add another picture of the head separately if you want to showcase the wires of the head. But other than that, character looks fantastic from head to toe, and it came from this concept. Very nice, very faithful to the concept as well. Very nice recreation in 3D. Almost everything from the concept is in there. I do like that you added the cloak on her back. It always gives characters a little bit more personality to have that extra on them. If we move on to the portfolio, it's not a lot. And I do, is this the same head? Okay, so it looks like you used the same head for that project, which there's no issue in that. Looking here, so this project was mainly doing the rest of the body, I guess. And then we have this one right here. This is, compared to your other character, I'd rather you have two pieces than not this one. It looks good, I would say. It's just the difference between this and the winning piece is it's really broad. There's a lot more detail on the Viking one than this one. And if you are looking for a job, you always got to be careful when you have two pieces that are so far apart from, I'm sorry, what's it called? From the detail part. Just take that into account whenever you're posting stuff in your portfolio. And generally for the audience that's listening to us, if you have portfolio, make sure that you only put the stuff that is kind of like in the same vein if you're going to have in the portfolio, so not to throw off the person that's looking at it. I feel like I wouldn't discount points for this, but I know a lot of people that would in that case. So we got this by Beong Lee. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Environment artist doing a character. So it says here, first creature sculpting project. Very well done, by the way. If this is your first, focusing on environment art, you want to have a more well-rounded skill set on your portfolio, just something that I talked about in the beginning. I know this is an advice that goes against a lot of veterans in the industry. They want you to have one thing on your portfolio. I always disagree with that you should have things that you want to create. And if you're an environment artist, you want to do characters, and you can do great characters, this to me looks pretty good, then go for it. Don't be afraid to add those to your portfolio. So if we look at it, the presentation is fantastic. It does show that it looks like you're an environment artist because of all the thought that's put all around the character. Usually us character artists just focus on the character and have like a thing. But this is fantastic. This sculpt is great. Play. Very nice turntable of the high poly. Pretty cool composition post. And I like that you break down everything. Here is the wireframe. Although I know this is a creature sculpt, I'm guessing you didn't make this to be an actual character, because everything that I'm seeing here, from the topology to how it's placed, would be very hard to rig. Probably like it's good an environment piece. The way that you modeled this, it looks more like it should be in an environment, which is fine if that's what you're going for. But if you're wanting to present this as a character, then I would need to see this beast separated from the environment and with topology that fits a rigging purpose. But other than that, I do like the breakdown. This is what hiring managers want to see. There's the breakdown of absolutely everything, how you make things here in ZBrush, from the C spheres starting into the final composition. It's very good when you showcase that. It's good to avoid art tests, by the way. The more you showcase how you do things, the less you leave the hiring manager wondering if you should need an art test before they actually move on into the interview phase. So this is very cool breakdown. Almost everything, even the leaves, are geometry, fantastic. All around, composition. Breaking down the foliage. This is what tells me you're an environment artist. That's nice. It's nice to see how you went from a C-sphere into final model. And we look at your portfolio. I already know your portfolio is great because you've been featured on 80 level, and I've already seen your stuff on 80 level articles. Aside from, and I've done environments too, done a lot of environments in Unreal, but this is pretty cool. And if you want to do more characters, I would encourage you to do more characters. This is something that you also like to do aside from your environment work. Don't be afraid to put various things in your portfolio, because you've already proven that you are pretty good at environments, and if you want to show that you're good at making characters as well, I guess that is a good way to go. Do like this card, that's pretty awesome. All around great breakdown of all your things. All right. So if we have any questions,
Okay, we something have here. How about the struggle to clear workflow, struggle with same problem, character that look good but not high ready and that ignored by studios.
very broad questions like character that look good but not hire ready. Hire ready is a very broad concept in the industry because and one of the problems that I've seen nowadays is they expect a new grad or a junior to be at the same level as a senior, and they want a super high quality in that case. What I would say is whenever you present your work, make sure you're presenting it in the best light possible and make sure you're in the shoes of the person who is hiring. Always ask, would you hire yourself after just looking at the beauty shot without looking at all of the other stuff? If you look at the beauty shot and you say, yeah, this is something that I would, go for, and that's good. And also ask other people, ask people around you that don't know you, that are not artists. There's a lot of communities out there. There's 80 level where you can just ask people around, see how your beauty shots are doing. Because I would say like 90% is in the beauty shot. If they see the beauty shot and they don't like it, they're not going to see the rest of your portfolio. Make sure you're being careful with that. Make sure that your roughness is correct. Make sure that your anatomy is correct. If you're doing character art, anatomy is like 100%. When I hear that you're not hire ready and you're a junior, like I'd say 8 times out of 10, it's usually because of anatomy problems. I see so much anatomy problems when I see people that are new to the industry, people that want to be character artists. It usually boils down to anatomy. So once you have anatomy nailed down to a T, you won't have that problem of what they call not hire ready.
And we have one more question from Draculix. I hope I spell correct your nickname. So, what is the main difference between production ready character for CGI shots, movies, etc., and game characters?
Well, the usually is how they're composed. So if you're talking about something that's gonna go into CG, like in a Marvel movie or VFX, the characters are usually prepared for subdivision. So they're subdiv ready. That means that when they are rendered, they're going to go into a high poly phase, and they're also using displacement maps. So you're preparing those characters to be the highest poly possible without the least amount of distortion when it comes to the geometry. When it comes to textures, for production characters, they are usually done a lot with UDIMs. That's UDIM tiles as opposed to texture sets, which is what we use a lot in the gaming industry. I know engines like Unreal can take UDIMs, but that's not very common. The reason for UDIMs is because you can break down various parts of your character into a lot of different tiles. So let's say you have a dragon, you have something like the dragons from Game of Thrones. You can have various parts of the face into different tiles, and that's going to assign a lot of more resolution to those parts as opposed to if you were doing texture sets. And the other part is like whatever, if there is a particular shot, sometimes your art director might tell you, okay, this character is only going to be this way. Let's say if it's a horror movie, like an alien movie or something like that, they may be focused on certain parts. So you're only going to build the parts that are being focused and not waste time a lot on the things that are not going to be on camera, if that makes any sense. When it comes to game characters or real-time characters, you build them a little bit different. You don't build them to be subdividable in the end, because when you're looking at real time, you have a poly count budget. You don't worry about if your character is going to be subdivided later or if there's going to be a displacement map applied to it later, because so far in real time, we don't have that technology. But you worry more about keeping to your poly count budget, which is usually assigned to you by your art director or the person who's leading the team. You focus on getting the most detail in the less amount of texture sets possible. So as opposed to a production character where you can have as many UDIM tiles as you want to make it look most impressive possible. When it comes to real time, there is a limitation on draw calls that you can do. And again, this is something that is assigned to you by the team. And you're going to do unlimited texture sets. Like I recently did a breakdown of Kratos, character from God of War. And you can see that he had a lot of materials. I would say over 15 materials, which is not very common. It's not something that you see a lot in video games, but that's why that game looked the way it looked. And there's a lot of decisions that went into that game. The usual is that you keep your draw calls low, so you're not going to break every single piece of your character into different material. You're probably going to have 3, 4, 5 materials to encompass the whole part of your character. And again, if you're trying to do this for a portfolio, always write what is your target. Like, what are you trying to do with the characters that you make? That is something a lot of people that are hiring want to see. When you make something, that you're making it with a purpose, even if it's a personal project and you just want to showcase it on your portfolio. It's always nice to see what is your target for that. Are you targeting production? Are you targeting, if you're targeting a real-time character art, then what platforms would you target with this character? That's something that I don't see a lot, that I think it's very important for people to have on their portfolio. Yeah, well, as always, thank you so much for you guys to invite me to this portfolio review. I would feel very honored to be here. Shout out to Theodore McKenzie for contacting me on Twitter. Hey, and glad to have everyone here. Hopefully this has been helpful, and yeah, remember to join the 80 level Discord. I'll be there too.
I wish great weekends to everyone, and thank you very much for joining us. Have a nice, the whole life ahead. Bye bye.
Bye bye.